You've got big old dreams for the film industry, and I want to show you how you can actually achieve them. Let's friggin' go. So, this is a very big project. We're talking about the admin scale. And this is what you will need in order to accomplish any goal that you have in your entire life, including anything that has to do with film sets, but really anything in your life at all. Like if you want to buy a house, you could do an admin scale for it. You want to make a movie, you could do an admin scale for that. There's plenty of different things that you can make an admin scale for. But really, the whole point of the admin scale is to get you to reach your goals and do everything that you want to do in your life. Because when you break things down, they become a lot easier to do in general. Now, I do want to just clear up one quick thing, which is the definition of scale in this particular sense, because there's a lot of different things that that word could mean. But basically, what we're talking about is one thing compared to another. And you're going to see exactly how the different parts of the admin scale compare to one another and how they all work with one another as well. So I'm going to stop talking about it. I say we just get right into it. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it might sound good to you. From Mr. Hubbard himself, the admin scale is a scale for use which gives a sequence and relative seniority of subjects relating to organization. The scale from top down includes goals, purposes, policy, plans, programs, projects, orders, ideal scenes, statistics, and valuable final products. There it is, valuable final products. Once again, in the last episode, I did a long, in depth discussion about what a valuable final product is, why it's so important. So definitely feel free to go back and look at that one. In this particular episode, we're only going to be going over 3 of those different topics. However, throughout the next 4 episodes, we're going to go through all of them and we're going to see how they compare with one another. To go on further with what Mr. Hubbard has to say about the admin scale, the scale is worked up and down until it is each time in full agreement with the remaining items. In short, for success, all these items in the scale must agree with all other items in the scale on the same subject. And that to me makes a lot of sense, but it's really easy to mess something like this up. Basically, what we're saying here is that when you have these 10 different things that you're looking at, you need to make sure that everything on that admin scale aligns with one another. So, for example, let's say that you had a goal to co-direct a movie with your favorite director. Mine's Christopher Nolan. So my goal is to co-direct a movie with Christopher Nolan, which would be amazing. I probably shouldn't also have as another goal to be climb Mount Everest because those two goals might not necessarily have a lot in common with one another unless Christopher Nolan is going to make a movie about Mount Everest, which I can see him doing. But anyway, the point is that you want to have all of these different projects aligned with one another, or all the different things that you're doing on this administration scale align with one another so that you don't spend too much time in one area versus spending time in another area. And I think all of us as creatives have definitely run into this problem before. I know personally, I've always really loved spending time with friends and family, but I gotta work on film sets a ton, and that takes a lot of time. And so how do we align these things is becomes the real question of all the different things that we want to have in our life. How do we make them all align with one another? Other examples of this might be, if you want to win an Oscar, you want to make sure that the purpose of that or the reason behind that is to be recognized for your work. You wouldn't want to win an Oscar and your reason is because you want to be the best basketball player. It just doesn't really make much sense that way. Another great example of something that does not align, but I think is totally hilarious, is if you've ever seen the original Spider-Man movies, we have one of the professional wrestlers, I think Randy Macho Man Savage is in that film. And a lot of really talented actors will say that he spent 20 years as a professional wrestler in order to get that role in Spider-Man. That's not exactly what happened, right? We see that misalignment on how those things work, but I think it's just a funny example. And I love the movie Spider-Man and I love wrestling. So there's a good example of it. Mr. Hubbard goes on to say a few other things about the administration scale as well. He says when an item in the scale is not aligned with other items, the project will be hindered, if not fail. The skill with which all these items in any activity are aligned and gotten into action is called management. Whoa, let's take another look at that for a second. The skill with which all of these projects are aligned is called management. That is what a manager actually does. And if you think about it, any job that you've actually worked at, when you have a really good manager, what they're actually doing is just taking all of these random different particles that they might have. Particles being like, it could be the different people that they work with, it could be the products that they have, it could be anything, and just aligning them for the same purpose. This is why I love being a director, in all honesty, because you have so many talented artists that you work with, between costume designers, DPs, actors, sound designers, grips, gaffers, all those people. They are all artists. However, if everyone was just allowed to go create their art and just do whatever, you wouldn't have a cohesive project. So what the manager, or in this case director of the film, is actually doing is taking all of these different things and making them work together, aligning them for a specific purpose. So you could actually even make an admin scale for one movie, exactly, for one reason. Mr. Hubbard will go on, and he also says that group members only become upset when one or more of these points are not aligned to the rest and at least some group agreement. Groups appear slow, inefficient, unhappy, or quarrelsome only when these items are not aligned, made known, and coordinated. Again, I think about a lot of the different projects that I have personally worked on. And one of the things that I make very clear is what the goal of each film is. My goal of each and every film is to make the best film possible. All three words, very important. Best is the absolute most effort and best product that we can deliver. Film, that's exactly what we're creating, and possible means within our means. Everyone knows what the actual mission is when they're working there. They want to create that best film possible, the one that communicates the most, that really gets to the audience. And let's say you were making a horror movie, and instead of doing horror, you've got a lot of other things that seem close but aren't quite the same. They're like thriller, suspense, or maybe it goes way off and it does romance or comedy. If you're trying to create this horror movie and there's all of these other things in there, they're totally unaligned, and your project is going to not go as well as it possibly could. If you've ever had unrest on a film set, a lot of times it's because nobody knows what the heck they're doing, because everything is just out of place. Well, now that is getting everyone on the same page, because now we know what style of acting we need. We know what kind of script we want. We know how we want to shoot it, because we know exactly that we're creating not just a horror, not just a comedy, but a horror comedy together. And if everyone is on the same page about it, then we know what we're making. Then we know what we're doing. Then we're going to have a fun time on set because we know what the heck we're actually doing. I mean, crazy how that works, isn't it? And Mr. Hubbard, he does have another quote about this. Any activity can be improved by debugging or aligning this scale in relation to the group activity, which is essentially what I was just talking about. Hey, looks like we agree. That's always a plus for me. Basically, what he's saying is that as long as we're aligned and making everything work together, then hey, we have a project that can actually grow. I said this in the last podcast, but I want to re emphasize the importance of this admin scale and what Mr. Hubbard has to say about it. So I'm going to throw this quote at you one more time, and that is: the achievement of your goals, no matter how large or small, relies on goals, purposes, and activities being aligned and properly organized. Hey, if you want to take that quote, you want to write it down, you want to put it on a sheet of paper, put it on your wall, I highly recommend you do that. I was looking over at this wall because it's got a bunch of great quotes like this on here. Basically, what it's saying is if you have any goal in your life, the only way that you're going to achieve it is by aligning everything that is behind that goal in order to help you achieve it, including your plans, projects, activities, whether it's yourself or the entire organization. That is really, really important, whether it's on a film set or really anything in life. You want to buy a house, you're going to have to do a lot of things before you just walk into the bank and go, one house, please. That's not how that works, right? I think a lot too. I have a lot of great friends that want to be like big DPs or work in the camera department. They don't start just by becoming a DP. I mean, some people will go into a film set and just try it out and see what happens. But a lot of them will learn as a second AC, first AC, even a grip from others that know more. And it is part of the activity for them to get more experience on set with more experienced people so that they can grow to that ultimate goal. Just because you have a goal doesn't mean it needs to be finished right away. It can be many years long, which is exactly what these people that I very much respect are doing in these lower quote unquote positions on the totem pole on a film set, right? Like a second AC is going to have to listen to their first AC and their DP to try and get the vision of that person. I'm not sure if they want to stay as a second AC their entire life. They might, but if their goal is to be a DP, they probably need to know what it takes to be these other positions in order to really grow. This is also something that is very important that Mr. Hubbard says that is going to allow us to build our admin skills appropriately, because when we build them, it's very easy to get overwhelmed on what's happening. But let me show you this quote so that you kind of have a good understanding of how we're going to be working on this. The scale is worked up and down until it is each item in full agreement with the remaining items. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to say these 10 items again: goals, purposes, policy, plans, programs, projects, orders, ideal scenes, statistics, and valuable final products. And remember, the scale from the top down includes all of those things, and it is worked up and down over and over until all of these items are in alignment. So when we look at building our admin scale for whatever it is that we want to do, you don't necessarily have to go in order from goals to purposes to policies to plans. No, you can actually jump around this thing, go from top to bottom, in the middle, anywhere you want to, as you build and grow on this. Now, we do have to define all of these, so I'm going to define them all. But at the very end, after all these different episodes have come out and they've all been defined for you, I do recommend that we take some time to look back at whatever your goal is and make sure that everything on that admin scale is actually in alignment with one another, because that will help you actually get the goal done. Today, specifically, we're going to talk about three of those things. One is the goal, next is the purpose, and then at the very bottom of that list is the valuable final product. So let's talk about the first one, the goal. Okay? A goal is a known objective toward which actions are directed with the purpose of achieving that goal. Simply put, you have to know what it is that you're trying to do, and you have to put actions towards achieving that thing. You could have a goal to make a movie. You could have a goal to buy a camera. You could have a goal to be on a film set every month. Okay, those are all different goals that you might have. It is important that you define exactly what you want your goal to be. And let me give you a great example of this. I, at one point, had a goal to make a feature length film. Then the question became, okay, well, how much budget do I need for this film? Well, I had to then ask myself, do I want this film to be really, really good? Or do I just want to make the freaking thing? Because if I just want to make it, I could probably have a film made for like $15,000. I mean, I'd have to scratch and claw for literally everything. Nobody would get paid on that thing. It would be a nightmare. But I could make a movie. Or do I want this movie to be really good and be a statement piece for myself? If so, I'm probably going to need a bigger budget, because that $15,000 movie that I'm going to make, it's just not going to look as great because I don't have the right lighting equipment, I don't have the right gear, or I got to work my butt off to try and get the right people to work for not really that much money at all, if anything. And that becomes its own chore, right? I have to figure out what that exchange is going to be. But you understand what I'm saying, right? So whatever your goal is, I would define it clear enough that you know how to align the other parts of it. I also recommend that as you're doing this admin scale, pick something a little bit simpler for your goal. The next up is purposes. And purpose is a lesser goal applying to specific activities or subjects. It often expresses future intentions. I like to think of the purposes as the why. So if I'm going to buy this camera, why would I want to buy this camera? So I can film any project that I want to at any time. That's a great purpose. So I can film with high quality. Okay, that is also really good. But it tells me too what kind of camera I need to buy, right? Because I can buy an iPhone and I could get some pretty decent quality stuff. Can I use that at any time? Yeah, that might fulfill my purposes. And maybe the iPhone is the camera that I want to have. But again, we're seeing how these things get aligned with one another. So, whatever your goal might be, let's say that your goal might be to make the movie, just want to do that big one. Okay, well, why do you want to make this movie? What is the purpose behind this project? Do you want to get known as a director? Do you want to see if you can even do it? I think that that's such a worthwhile purpose to see if it's even possible. And if that's it, then go for it. Just make sure that that's what you know, that that's what you're doing it for, right? You're not trying to necessarily impress anybody other than yourself just to see if it can even happen. So you got those first two. You got goals, you got purposes. Now we're going to go all the way to the bottom of this admin scale, and we're going to do valuable final products. Now, the valuable final product is a product that can be exchanged for the services or goods of the society. I go a lot more in depth on the valuable final product in the previous episode. However, the important thing is you have to know what is it that you are delivering and what are you going to get in exchange for this thing. For example, let's go back to this camera activity that I have. What is it that I am going to deliver? What product can I deliver in exchange for getting this big camera, right? And maybe what I need is I need money, right, to buy the camera. Maybe that's what I need. So that's the exchange I need. What am I going to deliver that can help me get to that goal? What do I have as my at my disposal that will allow me to that? Well, I can do just general work for my 9 to 5 job if that's what I've got, or I can work on film sets as a PA, getting a little bit of extra money. I can work under different camera operators as second AC, like I was talking about before, because I want to buy my own camera. And then I'm going to learn from them too. I'm going to get even more exchange because I want to learn from them what makes a good camera for myself or not. So now I have to deliver. What can I actually do? What is something I can deliver that will allow for me to get to the next step? There you go. You've got a valuable final product, you've got your goal, and you've got your purposes right now. So what I want you to do is take time looking at all three of those specific things. I'm going to go ahead and leave the descriptions of each of those three things in this video. So you can go ahead and look at those as you start to write out your own administration scale. And you can do this, like I said, on any goal that you have in your life. So whatever goal you want to do, let's go ahead and pick it. Let's find some purposes. Let's find a valuable final product that you can deliver on so that you can help get exchange for that goal. And let's go ahead and do what we all really want to do. Let's make some movies.